Mason was my ex-wife's high school sweetheart. We started dating in 1992 when we were both 17. We are now 4-5 and have been since she was the only woman I have ever been with in my entire life. We are married 5 years later. 22 people. Just got out of college a year later. Our first 2 kids were 22 and 17 to 23. I gave it to her. Build a house for her. A house allows me to live the life I want. Sure, we had our rough spots, but marriage was such a rough time that we found a way to get through it. The other side, and it's nice to have discovered her case that dates back to March 2020. The first time I felt like something was shutting down was 2 months before. To my shock, I was with a guy from knee surgery. Reconstruction tore my ACL in the fall of 2019, but still lacked mobility at the time. I only have about 55% range of motion in my knee, which has a pretty big impact in my home. Go out to work at the company because I was injured at work and I can't do my normal household duties, so my sons have a lot of support to do what they can. But the only work I can do has to be put in the background. The stove, or my wife must have done it, which she was not happy about, crawled to a standstill in the bedroom between us. It was already slowing down before my injury. But in the state I was in at the time, it had completely stopped during these months. She, who we'll call Sue, spent more time with coworkers after work between November 2019 and March. This was a normal occurrence for her naturally. I don't think anything. I've never done it in 23 years. Does being with her make her nervous? Believe it or not, you have your friends, I have mine, and we have each other. I go out with friends all the time and have no problem. It's above the board. Around January of this year, I noticed something strange. Sue was becoming noticeably distant. I'm sure we're in a funk. But she never denied my love until that point. The normal kisses she gave me stopped. Her phone was stuck in her hand long before I became more suspicious. But she shared and always shared and showed me what you found on the web. DIY ideas and recipes on Pinterest, all kinds of memes, but now she's being guarded about her phone. And her interactions with me became even more obnoxious, as if she couldn't be bothered. So we now in March I had just been cleared to return to work after 5 months on the shelf, and I was eager to return after that. Because for 5 months I had been rehabilitating my knee and couldn't do things. It's been driving me crazy. For context, I love physical activity. I am an avid martial arts athlete. And I'm usually in the gym 4 days a week. This is on top of all the housework I did within a week or 2 of the lockdown. Mass for becoming a wife ex remind me that you will start in another hour putting again. I think nothing happened because of her branch, of course. I feel like it might be every other day, but no, it's every day. And it wasn't just an hour or 2 that she was home. 3 or more hours later and straight into the shower, spending time with my 17-year-old SL or 22-year-old, and her GF fell over and left me sleeping because I can support myself better. We began to be close again. But as you might have guessed, she is neither conscious nor emotional, which I quickly noticed. So at the beginning of April the picture began to become clearer to me. Thoughts on all the signs that she is having an affair. And that's when I decided I needed to find the answer. So I scoured the internet for signs of a partner's infidelity. And she definitely ticked every box there. Behavior so, my search question. Advanced. How can I find evidence that I started her social media several months ago? Look at her FB list. It always hangs. A general picture of us and our son with her and her friends, and a few more pictures from that night. With coworkers in these pictures, she has a closet group of friends from work and a few others. I never met her from work. But I see things over and over again in these pictures. The man in every picture is uncomfortably close to her. Putting an arm around her shoulder or offering her back to a man, to cap it off. I've never even met him. Needless to say, you get a sour taste in your mouth. But that's not the worst thing. It's not the worst truth that this guy apparently has. Her friends on FB and followers are on the egg. So I went looking for his FB account and no, they will know me. I'm blocked. Why am I blocked from seeing this guy's FB account? But he was friends with her on FB. Yeah, I was in Batman detective mode at that point. I wasn't even trying to deny it. I know you're cheating on me with this. How long my mission will be until and between April and May will be known, that's what I know. I never had any clue about the depth of data you could secure from phone messages and email logs until we had a family cell phone package planned, and I was able to pull some information from my STBXW data history from October 2019 to April 2020, until she told me that the top 2 numbers were mine and were numbers I had never seen before. Let's take a quick guess at which numbers Google checks. And I insist that the person who blocked me on FB take the photo. Let's call him Pete because that's what he is again. The picture is clearer at this point, but their messages are very disconnected. Which means she deleted a lot. I know she's with this guy who cheated on me. But there is nothing in the information that can be provided. As a smoking gun, I needed more proof. At this point, I was going to tell my best friend that I had to do it. He asked me if I confronted her with what I had, and I declined because it felt like it wasn't enough, and that's when he told me about an app that would directly spy on her communications. Can be downloaded in real time. I won't say the name because I don't know the app rules here. I have it installed Sync My Data Plan and wait inside. Many days of doing that, I finally saw a text message between the 2 of them talking about how much fun they had. I had the night before and planned to do it again over the weekend, so boom, I got punched saying I ruined it. Completely clear. It's an understatement. I guess that period counted as my D-Day and the next 2 days after my crash. I was actively distant. I myself left her on those 2 days immediately after D-Day when she was visibly shaken. She tried to comfort me and asked me what was wrong. But I brushed it off and left. I can't see you, this woman, gone, as the enemy of unbelievable unpredictability or anything like that. That might have been the basis of my planning. I secretly planned an exit strategy even though her life was a spiral of hell. So here we are in early June, and there are still quite a few apps installed every night. I gathered as many statistics as I could see in the back and forth messages. They speak like a full-fledged relationship. They send romantic messages to women. Totally naked at the time I stopped watching anything. I was just collecting data on my private FPS server and cataloging it. At the same time, I started doing some unusual things. I started going out at strange times. I started coming home later than her. In front of her, I used my phone a lot. More than usual, and when she asked what do they do, I just said something and put my phone away. I also changed my login information on everything, so she couldn't access my stuff at all. You and mine throughout our marriage, we never separated anything from each other. But I think that was the beginning of her relationship. She changed her password on FB and on her phone, stating that she had to because of security breaches in the past few months. Yay, great cover for hiding your story from your husband. Anyway, I gave Oz a hint in my plan. And tell my only sister and my 2 closest friends what happened. These are the people I trust with my life. And I swore to secrecy for them. Reference: Oz and I have been friends since we were children of our friends. Joey and Na, another person we've known since high school. Note that she came to play down the road. July came and M's soon-to-be ex-wife was in full paranoia mode. She is sending a message and calls me a lot more often now, asking me if I'm coming home. When she gets home, when will I come home while you're here? And I don't ask what housework I do. I saw the seeds planted in her head last month. Especially when her communication was disrupted. She trusted her doubts. And the confusion told him that I found this woman cold and distant during these interactions with P. She suggested that maybe they should hang out at our house because she didn't know that I was just showing up to confirm that yes, she had this in my house. Thank you, super. Ask her in specific communications. She was worried about me possibly cheating on her, which made her really angry. I can't explain the level of happiness and how much I laughed from reading my cheating wife swap book. Argue with her partner if she is angry. Could her husband be unfaithful to her or the F? And man, now remember, I didn't talk to anyone when I left. I'm usually at Oz or Joey's through, back at the booze, watching them fight and spend time with my brother or at my big sister's house hanging out with her and my Bill, who are like big brothers to me. My sister is 52 and her husband is 58. She told him about my STBXW infidelity, but it wasn't my plan. That couldn't be risked. Because he's not good at speaking, we will rush through October. That's when things get better. Seriously better. I had been in the scam for 3 months and Sue was fully aware of the fact that I was trying to distance myself from him, as long as the day I enacted my plan. Until the day she confronted me on October 20th, 2020. I even touched her, didn't hug, didn't kiss, didn't initiate intimacy. Nothing like what she wanted. She was still at his house or motel or fucking POS that afternoon. She came to see me at work. Called and said no, because I was angry at the way she treated me for months. So I had my knee replaced. And then the great sentence came in. So she gasped if I cheated on her man. I fell to the ground laughing hysterically as I spoke hysterically. I mean, the Joker laughed hysterically on gas. On the surface it seemed like she thought it was me who was laughing at the idea of being unfaithful. But of course I laughed at the sheer irony of what was happening before my eyes. I was in tears, pounding the floor in complete hysterics. It was 2 minutes before I could calm myself down enough to answer. I sat up and looked into her eyes for the first time in months. Shaking my head, I didn't answer her. I got up and brushed myself off and kissed the top of her head. And settled down later that night while I was in the office. I decided, do you know what happened in a nutshell? I want to see what she tells him. So I opened the app and sure enough it actually sent real-time messages. She told P I knew he was cheating on me. I asked him tonight and he actually laughed in my face. He fell to the ground and laughed for about 5 minutes, not 5 minutes. Of course he didn't even care what I was like. Feeling anymore. I don't know how or why, but he's gone. I know I've lost him. I know this is being read on my face. That smile must have been similar to the Cheshire cat she destroyed. P tried to reassure her that if I took care of her enough, she would. He wouldn't come close to giving me what I hadn't given her, but the tone of her reaction tells me she now wonders if she had the courage to walk away from our marriage because I was unable to fulfill my duties as a husband due to legal injury and, at that time, almost the entire relationship. It went on for a year. But the idea of her losing me to another woman was enough for her confusion. Things are weak right now during all of this. I also insisted on getting all my affairs in order financially in September. For the second part of my plan. Met with the family lawyer to get things started. In the divorce papers, the amount I gathered showed us there was no trust at all. I can nail you to the wall. In divorce cases, my lawyer ordered me to receive all my finances. To prepare for any division of assets that may occur next, I had better secretly withdraw all the money from our joint account. And in my personal account, I also started buying an apartment as part of Phase 2. We are now in November and I have not changed my behavior at all. In fact, I've added more to it. Here's where my friend Nina is for reference. Coming into the game, Na and Sue were never what you'd call close. I met Nina, a freshman in high school, 2 years ago. I met Sue, too. Sue then saw Na as a threat because she was my closest female friend, insinuating that I didn't trust her from Sue on that matter. She never directly mentioned it. But it was clear to anyone who was paying attention. Nina, on the other hand, was never a big fan of Sue before me, and Sue-Nina's relationship made me interested in how much pressure Sue put on herself and our little group of friends, when I wasn't doing the same thing as Sue's group of friends. Which annoyed me because she knew why Sue did it. And even in Sun's circle, she doesn't have any male friends besides P when Na is the only girl in my square. Not stuck abroad because of the virus and finally returning to New York on November 3rd, Oz, Joey, and I decided that we would celebrate her return with a night at Joey's house for dinner and drinks. There were only 5 of us. Oz's wife, Joey. Besides Nina's sister, I stuck to CDC guidelines. We took Rona very seriously. Nina was an evil mastermind. She came up with a wicked idea to inspire Sue. She suggested that we take photos along the lines of the photos I discovered that Sue and Pete posted on my FB several months ago. And that's what we do. It wasn't until the 5th day that Sue became interested in this matter. Because I think a few friends saw my updates. And see how close I am. No, you think so much because of me. Still believe I'm cheating, and I can almost guarantee that she wants to make accusations, but she knows that Na has been stuck in Europe for almost a year. But it still didn't stop her from trying to dress me up that night because she was. Say it's useful in the picture. I saw this as a golden opportunity to take the lead for my knockout fight. I think the outfit with you and his paw from last year was quite useful. But are you looking at me while bending over, shape above it? Darling, in the headlights, this is the first time I've mentioned my friend's name in all of this. The hamster in her head would start shaking in real time as she tried to explain those choices out to the point where she didn't even know. I've seen them say I use FB a little when I post something. It's like a phenomenon for people. Which is why pictures featuring only Nina have received so much attention in our circles. And explains how she did it. He is like that with everyone. He just one person really, a friendly man, saw how it looked. But no sorry, if they PS hurt you I will delete it. There isn't a picture that doesn't hurt me. This year you feel bad. Friends while lying to me that you're working extra hours and hanging out with friends. Hurt me again, but revenge, when Lieutenant C. Worf from Star Trek TNG famously said that cool nights are best served. Sue is an extraordinarily special person. Especially tenacious and wary of me to the point of annoyance. So she tried me, starting with affection and intimacy. And I will interrupt you every chance I get, all the time. I'm still gathering up everything she thought of you. At this point, I'd been unconscious for a long time. Any desire I could have to save my marriage was dead. Check the date I announced the first phase of the plan. She told him I was getting so bad that she didn't know what to do. And she feels like I hate her. I did that, and then the bomb went off that she said she didn't. I don't see him feeling guilty for her anymore. It was too much, and she felt like the action was suffocating her. You can't risk losing me. She said she loved P deeply. But you still love me, and she has to save her marriage before she loses me. Not mine. Your favorites gave him almost. You're already 8 months late. PA is at a loss for his sweet words, as if he doesn't love you through I love you, and you're wrong. You can't just throw me away like the text chain will be the last until they have until about 3 weeks ago, all of November, all of December. Sue is in limbo. She tried to gauge where my headspace was and still couldn't tell if I was cheating or not. Meanwhile, P is continuously blowing up her phone every day. But she didn't answer him. I see you check your phone often. But quickly put it away during the second period. The plan is now officially complete. Divorce documents completed. I found a studio apartment in Co-op. New Yorkers will know this area and sign a 2-year lease. I personally have the money in my account. I'm ready to ditch my lawnmower. We are now in the midst of Thanksgiving. My eldest child and his girlfriend hosted a small gathering of our closest family. They were the oldest, his girlfriend, the oldest girlfriend's parents. You yourself are an only child, Sue, and our youngest is one of us. Good night, my oldest girlfriend. She studied to be a chef and she cooked everything a woman could cook herself. I told you that there was nothing wrong between Sue and me. And I began to lust after her many times. A kiss that evening, a cute little hug on the back of my cheek enveloping me. An arm wrapped around her shoulder. Her expression did not go unnoticed as she rebelled. Remember, this is the first time I've touched this girl since I gave her back. Kissed the top of her head as she faced me in October. So only about 2 months now. I'm lying. I felt disgusted doing that. But I can't risk this plan. And must stay away from her in front of the children. My oldest girlfriend and her parents would also sound the alarm, so would my youngest child decide that he wanted to stay with Big Brother tonight. So Sue and I drove home. And she thanked me for being so nice to her and told her I don't know what you're going through, darling, but I'm here for you. I had to hold back my hysterical laughter again, and replied that I knew I just needed time, so for the first time since the spring we were at Right Hat Night, I figured out what I was going to do. I might have to take care of something before I erase her from my existence. I won't go into details, but it ain't love when I'm done. She was a lump, lying there trying to figure out the direction of the passing truck. She didn't hug or do anything after I showered and went to sleep in my office. She's confused even though it was 2 decades ago that I first used condoms. She was definitely confused by it. But she definitely didn't ask the question. Hell doesn't look raw because she knows she's been doing that to pee for months. Then I woke up the next day. Check out my handy spy app. And for the first time in weeks, she responded to all of her PA friends. Blue confessed his love for her. Said that she was wasting time trying to rekindle the fire in me, that she and I had been in prison for 23 years and deserved to feel the love and affection of a man who would cherish her heart. This guy. 5 years older than our oldest son, 27, and he lives with a 45-year-old per-married mother of 2. Really high quality that she would ruin our marriage and choose to destroy the home we had built for this sweet man. The genocide, she replied, saying almost the same thing as she said just now. Last time they talked she loved him and was happy to be together, but she couldn't lose me. I am still the love of your life. But in her heart there would always be room for him, that they could still be friends if he wanted to. But the physical relationship between them was over. He asked her to see him one last time that week, and yes, you guessed it. She said yes as another way of saying who I am to say anything. I had to do it with her the night before I added. This is all a collection I put together on December 4th, when the final phase of Operation Shinobi Ghost Phase 3 began. Divorce papers in hand, I moved to our new residence. And now I have to slowly start moving things out of the house. But first I have to break the news to my kids. I called my oldest home that Friday night. They came with me to the office and onto that table. Everything is not specified specifically, but their mother has been cheating on me for over a year now. And I'm soon to be filing for divorce. My 17-year-old daughter was especially shaken because he had just experienced his first infidelity. Yes, his first girlfriend cheated on him only 4 months before seeing him break his second time hitting him. At the idea that his mother could do this. My older child is much better, and advised him to take his younger brother to live with him. And until I fall down, let us adjust some of his things. Then he asked me if it was okay. I told him that yes, son, I will be fine, and Yui will be fine. I promise they'll leave. The hardest part is over. Now is the time to deploy nuclear weapons in the coming weeks. Strength will help me get some. My very delicate items left the house for him. Show me a list of everything when Sue and I were at work. And left him a spare key. This is all stuff that we won't notice is missing unless you tell her it's gone. There's also a new phone and phone number. And tell everyone who wants to know Oz, Joey, no, my kids, my sister, my mom, and my new contact information. So far, I'm following Rouse and Sue, and she's none the wiser. His affection for her only kept her from getting lost, as she still had as little contact with the PA as she had before. But there was still some emotional stuff going on, a bit of mist, but it was still there the whole time I put it all together. And I mean everything. Every bit of data I've archived since I started the plan, call logs, texts, emails, everything. And started typing documents. I had to spend over $1,500 on Staple to get a printer, ink, paper binders, portfolios, and I've listed everything there. Ordered from the beginning of the episode to the last bit, 2 weeks ago, December 16th, in 14 binders. I put each binder in a box and wrapped gifts to mention different people: my mother, my father who died 7 years ago, her parents, my sister. The 2 of you, her brother, her HR department. Did I forget to mention P, work for the same company? And there are clear rules regarding relationships between companies. Because of the nature of what she did, several of her friends, POS, and P's parents took them all to the post office and sent them all off for delivery on December 16th, ETA for delivery on December 22nd, Perfect Day 24 Episode 24. Here we are on Christmas Eve. Sue came home at regular intervals. I don't know if she'll see the POS or not. I'll stop following her on the app. Once I hit number 18, I got all the distance I needed. Usually she hangs out with me in a little rain. As I took her out on the living room sofa, it exploded. I realized I was in a gas pit. And she will go in that night. That last one stayed with me for a long time. Nuclear armed since June, it's close to being launched in the middle of the night. I woke up and one of the 3 remaining hostages had divorce papers inside. Tape it to the cover and wrap it up and place it on the bedside with a note saying, "Merry Christmas." Beside I threw away my old phone and my lawyer's business card. I packed enough of my remaining most important items to fill 2 backpacks. And I left the house. It took me 23 years until the last time my friends, a week ago, to sue me completely off the net. Shadow ghosted. She was blocked on FB, but still hasn't blocked me for some reason.